Hey everyone, with our base characters drawn, we're going to start moving into producing larger volumes of characters. In this video, we'll start with our lowercase h and lowercase m. So let's take a look at glyphs. In our font file, we're going to open the M and the lowercase h, as well as the N. And first thing I'm going to do is on the lowercase n, I'm going to copy the work that I've done so far on that sans serif layer, and I'm going to paste it into that H. And really, all it is pulling up that bar to that ascender. And that's it. Seriously. Let's go take a look at some of those other characters. We can do the same thing in the serif version. So select this, and sometimes it doesn't like to take those components. So if we hold shift and click those two, we can grab them. We'll go back into our H, and on our serif layer, paste it in. And this time we'll have to grab all of our points, so including that serif there. I want to make sure I'm not grabbing this handle, it would be easy to do that. And I can pull this all the way up to my ascender. When I look at these, looking back and forth to see how it's looking, I can say that looks pretty good. And now before I move on, I want to make sure that side bearing is equal. In my lowercase n, you'll see the serif version has 56 on either side, and the sans serif version has 63. So we'll quick set that for our H. 63 and 56. Let's make sure it did that on that sans serif side. Nope. So we'll have to hit enter. And just like that, we have our lowercase h. We can work similarly quickly for our lowercase m. So I'll copy my n again, and I'll paste it in here. Now earlier when we drew this lowercase n, we made sure that we drew the stem and this curved part into that foot separately, and it's going to pay off now. What we can do is double click to select that whole path, hold option and drag it over to the side until we get our second leg. Now these letters are crashing next to each other in my sort of viewport here, and I can change that by fixing the side bearing here. I'll just quick set it to 63, even though we'll change it probably more than once. Now looking at this letter form, it has a good start, but it's not finished. The way that this curve meets that next one and where they're coming from is called the crotch, and it's not working. It's sort of default. First, I want to make sure that these are the same width apart, so I'll grab both of these. I'm going to duplicate it and bring it over. And I can see that my M over there is just a little bit narrower, so I could bring this out a little bit. I could also bring this foot in, so I just want to make sure that my M isn't too wide. And we'll bring that in so it looks like it's somewhere in that middle there. Then you can choose what to do with this crotch here, whether you want to come out of that stroke or whether you want it to be a smooth overlay here. If it were going to be smooth, I might match those points up, and we could run it something like this, where we bring this around and bring him up, and now that's sort of a smooth in and out. That doesn't totally match what we're doing on this other side, so I might go back a little bit until I have just about what I started at. And instead, I'm just going to make sure that this looks a little bit more intentional. So I'm going to bring this a little bit closer to, and then work on this handle a little bit, just so that we have a nice smooth curve out of there. And it looks like I did this on purpose, not that I really quickly copied this. There's a good pro tip in here. Anytime we're working with our curves, if we hold down our Option key on a Mac and click this point, we can slide that point left and right along that path that it's already on without moving the handles. When we're working with our curves, it can be really helpful to slide that so we can get that point on the apex of our curve. After we manipulate this a little bit, and it might take some time to do this, we can get to a point where it feels like it belongs. And then we'll do the same thing with our serif version. So in our N, we'll select that serif version. We're going to duplicate these serifs, so be sure to shift click those, and we'll paste them over on our M side, that serif layer, and we can paste it. Now, one thing that's a benefit of having kept on our layers, so remember we could turn our layers on or off depending on what we wanted to see. Here, we're already able to see what the benefit of this is going to be when I drag this over here. Once I drag that over there and say we add this to 56 again, you can start to see the relationship between one character and the next. So I can make sure that my M is the same width. So I might just really quickly grab all of these and make sure they're aligned with one another. And now I can make the same changes I made on the one underneath, my serif version, or my sans serif version rather. I can grab these and I made it just a little bit narrower so he wasn't quite as wide. It looks like I adjusted this curve a little bit, which is great. We want to bring that in. And just like this, I can really quickly and easily move these points around so that there's similar DNA. And that view, having both of these layers on, really helps me work through this. Finally, I'll duplicate this last serif. So I've got a serif on all bottom feet. We'll put them right in the center there. And we can look at how that's doing. These three characters work together well because they have the same visual rhythm. When we're looking at all of these characters, and if I get this H also onto the serif version, we can see just how similar they are, and why starting with that N is really the easiest point to start with. Now these aren't perfect. We might play around with these a little bit more, but that's how we get started on our lowercase h and m. Thanks again for liking the video. As always, please make sure you're subscribed and that you like the video so we can keep pushing these forward. If you've already done that, share them, comment on them, just spread the design love everywhere.